Dick Osen, and yeah, the EU sellout. But doesn't that trigger a constitutional crisis? I might be out of touch or naive, but I thought that given Article 50 had to be invoked and therefore Parliament had to get involved, that to reverse a democratic vote at scale requires Parliament to write it off. But we seem to have a leader, a person that's gone ahead and done the deal regardless, and also directly acting against the wishes of the citizens. And if you think about it, what is democracy? What does our system do? Well, people vote to choose a party that is going to represent their interests. And it's very clear that with the local elections going in the way of reform, it's very, very clear that the local citizens do not want what this current administration is doing. And yet the current administration is refusing to listen and is doing it anyway. Well, that's a constitutional crisis, isn't it, in my book? You have people that elected a government under false pretences, I might add, under promises that have been reversed, and the local elections are very, very clear and sent a signal, but on purpose they seem to be working against the interests of the country, the citizens. They're part of a process, it seems, to hollow out the country, its wealth, its history, its democracy. But doesn't that mean there's a constitutional crisis? Isn't the Lords, isn't the King, isn't the House of Commons and the House of Lords, isn't that structure there to provide the checks and balances, to make sure that the rights of the citizens, and I don't want to go back to Article 61, which is the Glorious Revolution. So it's William of Orange, removing one of the kings, and it was a time when a lot of the powers of the monarch were handed to Parliament, and then Parliament tried to claim absolute power and say that they were sovereign and not the people. But Article 61, you should look it up, was put in place to stop that happening. But I hear Labour politicians a lot say that Parliament is sovereign. Well, no. The way in which the Constitution works is that it was based on Magna Carta, of course, and the People's Treaties over the years, and then the Glorious Revolution. The test was that a monarch lost his head because he went against the people. So there are precedents, there is a test here, and the powers that be will say, Nick, that was overwritten by the Catholic Church, or that doesn't apply, that was 800 years ago, we live in a different world. Well, we don't live in a different world. Democracy is democracy, and my argument is that we need to change it because it's not working. And if we do get a new government in 3 years' time, and it's likely to be reform at this point, then my vote would be for completely changing the voting structure, the civil service structure, almost paring the civil service down to virtually zero. But the one thing under the Blair government which happened is that he appointed lots of non-government organisations which could dictate to Parliament, could dictate and make sure that various things were done. And my view is that we didn't vote for these non-government quangos. And so I think constitutionally we need a complete change. First by the post, also protected the two main parties, and in a sense, the Tories are probably not going to be elected again for a very, very long time. Labour's certainly not going to get elected because they've misled and lied to the citizens. And I think constitutionally they've ignored the democratic way in which we do things in this country. But I also think the King, the House of Lords and Parliament itself are ignoring the fact that the citizens of this country don't want what's going on right now, and still they do nothing. What do you think? Talk soon.